Welcome to Transform Now, the podcast brought to you by robotic process automation pioneer Blue Prism. Digital transformation has the potential to reshape the way companies service their customers, engage their employees, and manage their operations. Whether you're looking to develop strategies, tactics, and best practices to positively impact the future of work, or you're curious to learn how other companies have successfully navigated their digital transformation programs, then this podcast is for you. We're here to help you transform now.
Hello, everyone. Delighted to be here talking to Evan Salway, Chief Financial Officer of Goto.Energy. Hello, Evan.
Hi, Jason. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Evan, would you mind just giving everybody a brief introduction to yourself?
Okay, so my name's Evan Salway. I'm the CFO of Goto.Energy. Myself, my CEO, Nikki Good, have come to the industry for the sort of wholesale commodity side of it. So we're perhaps a little bit different to the traditional energy company that's been founded by people from within the industry. So we like to think we've got a slightly different perspective. And I think that's a lot about what we can talk through today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've talked to you in the past about the benefits of automation to customer experience, to employee experience. But from talking to you previously, I think that you take more of a macro view today about being seen as an innovative company.
Obviously, everyone would like to think themselves an innovative company. I think the thing that makes us, or makes our perspective perhaps a little bit different from other people's, is the genesis of where we've come from as a management team. To speak to myself briefly, I started in the city in fund management in 1998. And the reason that year is important is it was the start of the dot-com bubble, or it was when it was really beginning to build ahead of steam. And as a young grad coming into the city, then I got handed all of the stocks that no one was interested in utilities. So from almost day one of my professional career, I've been pulling apart balance sheets of utility companies. And the one thing that intelligent automation really brings to the party when you look at a low margin industry is the efficiency gains you can get from just 1 or 2%, percentage points productivity in a process can really have huge benefits and a massive impact, far more so than, say, a chip manufacturer who's probably posting margins in the hundreds of percent. When you've got companies where profit margins are single digit, that can work providing you have sufficient scale. But you really notice the benefit of efficiency gains. And we've talked a lot in the past, and there's been a general conversation about how intelligent automation is great for improving customer feedback, for lessening workload, particularly when it comes to things like laborious and repetitive tasks. And these things are great. But I think that has in the past meant that the conversation within corporates has been about intelligent automation being an IT function. And I think what we believe and what we're seeing now, and hopefully what you're finding in terms of getting the technology out there and general acceptance of intelligent automation, is that it's now becoming, or it's appropriate that it becomes a C-suite conversation. It's great that it has these micro-level benefits for customers and employees, but I really think the benefit and where a lot of corporations will start to see the impact is to get buy-in at board level and roll out automation across the board. And that's the way we look at it.
But it sounds like what you're saying is also that it resonates with investors.
At the end of the day, the directors of any company are responsible to their shareholders. And for us, it's a question of, are we using your capital efficiently? And that question is so much more pertinent in a low margin industry like utilities, because, for example, we, over the course of the last year, probably saved somewhere in the region of 10,000 to 12,000 man hours through automated processes. Now, when you translate that into the bottom line, it has a huge impact. And it's not just the fact that customers get processed quicker and it enables us to, remove repetitive tasks from employees. It really makes a difference when you come to, talk to external third parties about the business. It makes it just more marketable, more investable as a business to say, not only are we conscious of the fact we operate in a low margin environment, we're taking these steps to, avoid margin compression through workforce expansion and all of the other factors that can really start to impact these types of businesses. So
it's fascinating.
I think, it's automation has always been spoken about in terms of increasing efficiency, going right back to the power loom in the 1700s through to automotive in the 1920s. If you look at, again, another very low margin business once all the entrants piled in, But you look at what Henry Ford managed to achieve with automation, it's well documented. Those sorts of gains are straightforward and easy to understand. But it's when you look at what do they do to benefit your marketability as an enterprise? We as directors have to deliver shareholder value. If we're able to do that in an environment whereby through slightly more productive processes, their earnings multiple really drives value over a 10-year period. That's where we're finding, I suppose, traction in terms of marketing the use of this to our investors. It's a question of long-term investment for productivity gain.
And does that, so taking that approach, so using intelligent automation, taking a digital first approach to attract outside investment, does that require a changing thinking about how you, the mindset and how you apply that within your organization?
I think we're lucky. Yes, probably. We're lucky in that we're a new company. I think that there are large, more established firms in this industry that will find it necessarily harder to implement intelligent automation from day one because you've got legacy systems. We know all of the IT related when it comes to that. Mindsets in and of themselves, I think, are relatively easy to change. I think it's often felt that there's an inertia within C-suite employees in terms of changing their minds. And I don't find that. I think that you'll find that most owners of most businesses, if something will make them more money, they will do that. So it's not for a lack of want to innovate or for a lack of imagination in a lot of labels. It's the fact that up until now, I believe anyway, intelligent automation has been seen as a sort of IT project. Let's roll this out. We get proof of concepts doing this customer onboarding process or this FAQ process, and then it slowly gets fed back up, or this was a success, or the return on investment here isn't quite clear. And I think that's where you come back to the point of incremental gains. If you look at intelligent automation as an IT project, and let's say you build something to help a customer onboarding process, and that process then runs 10% more fit. It's easy to go through that kind of tick box exercise and process owner level, say, no, this is clearly the future. We'll slowly start to roll this out. Whereas I think if you can get it ingrained at a board level, and I think that someone that looks at a lot of companies and a lot of low margin industries, that's where you can really get the benefits very quickly, because that you go in there, that the mindset then becomes, right, actually, do you know what? The way in which we're going to deliver value for our shareholders over the next 5-10 years is to make sure top down, we look at every process in our business and see where we can automate it. And you've got to take a longer term point of view if you're an established company, because there are probably labor force implications for rolling out.
Absolutely.
Whereas we've very much from day one been able to, get every new employee that comes on board now, it gets half a day on, this is the mindset we want to think in, this is the technology we use. In everything you do day to day, think about where we can apply an automation. And because they know that there's buy-in at a board level, you tend to get a lot more enthusiastic suggestions that you can't justify the return on investment at that micro level. But then you can have individual process owners that make that determination. The point is, we hope we have anyway, the employee mindset that says, is there a better way of doing this? And I think a lot of business owners would like to say, well, yes, we have an imaginative workforce and they always bring problems to us and find ways of solving them. That's true. But we're actually giving them a mechanism to do that. It's not just a time and motion type study. It's a day in, day out. Think of how you can, improve.
And then I guess you've got a bit of an advantage because you're pretty much a full digital organization coming into the industry without as much legacy as maybe some others. But do you see real world examples where, traditional industry importing digital technologies from those kind of, those pure play digital world and seeing advantages? Is that something that you've seen?
Well, I think we've all seen it, haven't we? Biotech, fintech, greentech. I think if people are starting to realize that a lot of traditional businesses out there can be radically improved by taking a digital first standpoint. Probably the fintech space is the clear example of the biggest successes to date. But I suppose it's emblematic of one sort of silver lining out of the sort of the tragic pandemic that we're all living through, is the fact that it's perhaps sped change in that direction. Home working is now probably something that's very much here to stay. The downsides perhaps are that the transformation of the high street, which was taking place slowly, is now going to take place much faster.
But it accelerates things.
It's a catalyst. And it's that sort of transformation of the way in which we do things. or looking at fintech, with the traditional going to your branch banking, that will die out, and that fintech is showing that. And I think that what you're really doing, if you look at it from a macro level, is you're removing inefficiencies in the system. So when Monzo comes along and they do things slightly better, it improves life for everyone over time. I mean, at a corporate level, our sort of internal mantra is that we want to build a better mousetrap. Intelligent automation, along with several other pillars of the way in which we try and think, just allows us to not just drive change, but just be different, get better at doing things. And it's not unique to us, everyone's doing it. What we're having a conversation here about is really a new method of working, rather than what we are specifically doing as Goto.Energy. I think that in 5 years' time, this will be far more commonplace. And that's what we're really talking about this. I think 5 years ago, the conversations about intelligent automation were at that head of IT type level.
IT, yeah.
You know, what do you think we might be able to do with this? Can we show you what we can do with this, that, and that? And so they build a process, you'd show them how they could automate it, and everyone would be very happy with it. The CFO would probably be being shown a video of the process running and be told how many man hours it's saving, and be very pleased about that, but not be as open to it being a company-wide initiative. And that's partly due to, I think, the way in which the technology was introduced. Obviously, it's gotten a lot faster over the last few years. There's a lot more that can be done with it. You probably know better than I, but I mean, yeah, they talk about intelligent automation being into its 5th generation now. And I guess that will depend on platform to platform. But as technology has matured, it's a bit like, we talk about real world examples, it's a bit like EVs. 10 years ago, everyone realized it was a nice idea, and in a perfect world, yes, everyone would have one, but there's no charging infrastructure, and it's taken a while to gather a head of steam. And I think that's where we are. That's the appropriate analogy. I think that, yeah.
It's much more of a mainstream conversation, and it's a business level conversation, I think, as you've articulated really clearly. So I just want to change tack just for the final question. So obviously in your industry, there's a huge number of drivers, changing consumer expectations. You've talked very eloquently about the margins issue. One of the things that you just cannot ignore in the energy industry today is the fact that we're facing a climate emergency. And therefore, I think incumbent on the industry is that need for rapid transformation. And I know that Goto.Energy really wants to be at the bleeding edge of that. But tell me, so from what I understand, you don't just think of yourself as a green energy company. You think of yourself as a green tech company. What does that mean, and why is that important?
I think it's important from the point of view of, number one, for us, attracting external investment. It's very difficult to start up and run a company in this sector, because it's highly regulated. It's one of the few sectors globally where, and certainly in the UK, there are price caps. So immediately that means you've got to operate far more efficiently than perhaps you would be able to get away with in other industries. And the reason we've sort of looked at the sort of technology approach to it all is that we want to not only be a domestic energy supply, that's part of the puzzle, but we want to try and integrate upstream and downstream from where we are. One of the things that we're looking into is investing in battery technology, so that we can actually effectively, almost like storage heaters, buy electricity at cheaper times of the day, and then manage our consumption, which, yes, is more profitable for us, but also just generally for the economy, it's a good thing because it's more efficient. I think I would probably alarm some of my contemporaries in the industry to echo your words about climate emergency. I think, everyone needs to pay attention to where we are. There's always danger with these things of being too alarmist, but work does need to be done. I mean, one of the things we're doing as well, with in mind the green tech aspect, the automation processes that we've developed. It's not just improving repetitive processes, but also using quite complex algorithms to affect market hedging, to make the customer onboarding much faster. We're actually looking to sell these processes out to the rest of the industry on a sort of SaaS basis, just to broaden, if you like, our product portfolio and the scope of our revenue streams. We've gone into something which in many respects is quite plain vanilla, and we're trying to actually modernize the business model and say, right, okay, we've got this core of domestic energy customers, and that's great, and that's a certain revenue stream. But can we take that and all the processes and technologies we've built around it and go and market it elsewhere? From our perspective, doing that is probably one of the historically most successful ways to pivot a company. Look at Nokia. They've almost come full circle. Back in the early 80s, Nokia made snow tires, and they're operating in Finland across large expanses where there was no telephony, but they also sold two-way radios. And that business became the mobile phone business. Motorola. Yeah, originally they made record players for cars. We want to build a core business. And then the exciting part for us is the technology that we can develop. So we have that, if you like, petri dish almost of a core of domestic UK customers. We run that as well as we can and give it the best customer service. And that's what informs, okay, so as a company running a UK domestic supply business, what have we learned and how can we take what we've learned and pivot it and market it and give ourselves additional revenue share?
So you're able to actually encapsulate all of that learning in the technology platform, and potentially that technology platform can then benefit other organizations.
Yeah, actually, it's not 100% altruistic. I want it to benefit our shareholders first, but to the extent that it can then benefit everyone else, and that's great. It's just an evolution of the way in which we're doing things. And I think that I don't want to necessarily talk too much about Goto in and of itself. I think that the point of this conversation is to illustrate to the audience here how mainstream this is becoming. You know, the more people that start using intelligent automation, the more it will become commonplace, the cheaper, the more people get used to using it, the more applications will be thought of. It is, I suppose it crosses over into where are we going with artificial intelligence and how far off are we from truly innovative developments in that area. We talk about the various authors out there, you know, pontificating on what happens with the growth of AI. I think this is how it takes place. It's through automation. It's not through the artificial intelligence itself. It's just through greater reliance on automating things that perhaps 10 years ago we didn't think could be automated. Yeah.
And a lot of our customers tell us that intelligent automation is actually a way to operationalize it. The AI is great, but actually to get it and making a difference at an operational level, you need that in intelligent automation and what was RPA. So it's been a great conversation. And what I take away from this is that you're really using intelligent automation as a way of creating shareholder value. Obviously, profit margins is one thing that's very attractive to an investor, but also the green aspects, you're actually talking to other values, other things that shareholders value. And we know that green is really important today.
Yeah, I think it's a hygiene factor these days. I don't want to. I think we all need to be. We all need to be aware of the fact that yes, we can't continue to not pay attention to the green agenda. We saw in the recent budget, it was labelled a green budget, and you've seen in there are a lot of incentives for green businesses. So you'd almost be crazy not to try and focus on green as an area, just because of the amount of subsidies and grants available. And it's good that the global governments are thinking that way now, because previously there hasn't been much incentive to reduce the use of fossil fuels, and there very much is today, both mentally in the mindset of the body politic, but also within consumers. They want to be green. Yes, we have a mind to the environment, but I think we all need to. It's just it's a fact of life now. So yes, we'd struggle to, I think, market our energy to customers if we didn't have that green apple, but it's hopefully something that's foremost on everyone's minds now.
Yeah, absolutely. So Evan, final word. So if you were talking to another CFO today, what would you tell if you had to do the elevator pitch for why automation, why artificial intelligence, why intelligent automation? What would you say?
I think I was talking to another CFO. I'd lead absolutely from the margin. It's a very small number when you talk about, so let's say that customer onboarding is 8% of your man hours within a company, and you can automate aspects of that and get a 10% gain. The incremental numbers are very small, but you add those up over multiple earnings periods. And as a CFO, as a conversation to your board and your investors, you can make a real case for using automation because it can add millions of pounds to your bottom line over a period of time. And that is where I think this conversation has moved now. And going back to what we were saying about automotive in the 1920s, why wouldn't you have a production? If your competitors are installing production lines, you've got to have a production line. It's not a question of, is this a good idea? Other people will be using it and making those efficiency gains. So if you want to compete on a level playing field, then you've got to start rolling this out.
Yeah, you need to get ahead because your competition will absolutely be doing it. Yeah. Evan, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Really best of luck with everything that you're doing with Goto.Energy. It sounds like a fantastic enterprise. And thank you for speaking with us.
Thanks so much. See you soon, I'm sure.
Thanks for tuning in to Transform Now. For more insightful discussions on digital transformation and more, check out our podcast channel where you'll find all of our previous episodes. To make sure you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player. And if you like what you heard, please leave us a review. For more information about digital transformation and the future of work, check out blueprism.com to learn how Blue Prism's digital workforce is enabling enterprise transformation now.